Most people lose the day before it even starts. The alarm goes off, and the first decision they make is to delay their own life. They hit the snooze button. They lie there in the dark, half awake, negotiating with themselves for 5 more minutes. And those 5 minutes turn into a habit, and that habit turns into a pattern, and that pattern quietly shapes the entire shape of a person's life. You think it is just one morning. It is never just one morning. Here is a question worth sitting with for a moment. Why do you actually get out of bed? Is it because you want to, or because you have to? For most people, the honest answer is that they wait until the last possible second, until some external pressure forces them up. A job, a deadline, someone who needs them. Given the choice, they would keep sleeping. And that small daily surrender says more about a person's future than they realize. This is what we are going to break down today. The book is called The Miracle Morning, written by Hal Elrod. The promise in the title sounds almost too bold. Transform your life before 8 in the morning. It is easy to dismiss that as another motivational slogan. But underneath the title is a serious argument about discipline, about ownership, and about the small repeated choices that decide who you become. The author argues that the way you start your morning sets the ceiling for your entire day, and the way you live your days sets the ceiling for your entire life. Let us begin with the most uncomfortable idea in the book. The author opens with a hard statistic. He refers to figures attributed to the Social Security Administration. Take 100 people at the start of their careers and follow them for 40 years until retirement. By the end, only 1 will be wealthy. 4 will be financially secure. 5 will still be working, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. 36 will have died, and 54 will be broke, dependent on family, friends, or the government to survive. In money terms, that is roughly 5% who build real freedom and 95% who struggle for life. Now, you can debate the exact numbers. The author renders them as he found them, but the shape of the claim is hard to argue with. Most people do not end up where they hoped, and here is the part that should stop you cold. If you asked any of those struggling people at the start, none of them planned for that outcome. Nobody sits at the beginning of their career and decides to be broke at 60. It happens slowly, by default, through 1,000 small choices that felt harmless at the time. That is the scary part. Mediocrity is not chosen in one big moment. It is accepted in many small ones. So the book lays out 3 steps to rise above that 95%. The first step is simply to acknowledge the reality. Most people will never live the life they truly want. And if you do not consciously decide to think and live differently from the crowd's outcome becomes your outcome by default. This includes people you love, your friends, your family, your peers. The point is not to feel superior to them. The point is to set an example of what is possible when someone actually commits. The second step is to understand the causes. Why does the average person drift into a smaller life than they were capable of? The author names several causes, and each one is worth understanding clearly, because you cannot avoid a trap you cannot see. The first cause he calls Rearview Mirror Syndrome. Picture your mind as a car with a rearview mirror fixed on your past. We keep glancing back at who we used to be, and we mistakenly believe that who we were is who we are. So we filter every present decision through the limits of past experience. We want a bigger life, but we cannot picture it any way other than how it has always been. Think of a person who failed at business once and now treats that single failure as a permanent verdict on their ability. They are driving forward while staring in the mirror. The fix is to recognize that your past is information, not a sentence. The second cause is a lack of purpose. Ask the average person what their life purpose is, and you get a blank look. Most people take life one day at a time with no deeper why. They focus on getting through the day, taking the path of least resistance, chasing small comforts, and avoiding any discomfort that might make them grow. Now contrast that with someone who knows exactly why they get up. The person with a compelling purpose can push through resistance because the why is bigger than the discomfort. Without a why, every hard thing feels pointless. With a why, the same hard thing feels worth it. The third cause is what the author calls isolating incidents. This one is subtle, and it catches almost everyone. We tell ourselves that one choice only affects one moment. Skipping one workout is no big deal. Procrastinating on one project will not matter. Eating one fast meal is fine, because tomorrow we get a do-over. But that is a lie. Every choice is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. The single skipped workout does not ruin your health. The belief that skipping does not matter is what ruins it, because that belief repeats. Here is the truth most people miss. You are never making one choice. You are casting a vote for your identity, again and again. The fourth cause is a lack of accountability. Look closely at highly successful people, from chief executives to professional athletes, and you find a high degree of accountability built into their lives. Accountability is simply being answerable to someone else for an action or a result. The author makes a sharp observation here. Almost every good thing you did between birth and the age of 18 happened because an adult held you accountable. Vegetables got eaten, homework got done, teeth got brushed. You got to bed on time. Strip away that accountability and you would have been an uneducated, unhealthy, exhausted child. As adults, we lose that external structure, and most people never rebuild it. The successful rebuild it on purpose. The fifth cause is your circle of influence. Research suggests you become roughly the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Read that again, because it may be the single most important sentence about your future. If you surround yourself with lazy, excuse-making, low-effort people, you will slowly become like them. Spend your time with disciplined, positive achievers, and their habits and attitudes rub off on you. You rarely rise above the standard of the room you spend your time in. The sixth cause is a lack of personal development. Your level of success in any area rarely exceeds your level of personal growth. Success is something you attract by who you become, not something you chase by what you do. Your income, your health, your relationships tend to mirror your knowledge, your skills, your beliefs, and your habits. If you want the outer results to change, the inner person has to change first. That brings us to the third step. Draw your line in the sand. Make a decision today about what you will start doing differently. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. The author is direct about this. Your entire life changes on the day you decide you will no longer accept mediocrity for yourself. The decision itself is the turning point. Now let us get practical, because a decision means nothing without a method. The book's core method begins with one battle that everyone fights every single day: waking up. The author reframes the snooze button in a way that stings a little. When you delay waking up until you absolutely have to, what you are really doing is resisting your own life. Every time you hit snooze, you are sending yourself a quiet message that you would rather lie there unconscious than get up and build the life you claim to want. He gives this a name: your wake-up motivation level. On a scale of 1 to 10, when the alarm screams at you from a dead sleep, most people sit at a 1 or a 2. That low motivation is normal. The trick is not to rely on motivation. The trick is to engineer the morning so that waking up gets easier step by step. He offers 5 simple steps for this. The first is to set your intentions the night before. Your first thought in the morning is usually the last thought you had before bed. Think about the night before a holiday or a big trip when you woke up instantly, excited. You can manufacture that on purpose by deciding each night to expect a good morning. The second step is to move your alarm clock across the room. This forces your body out of bed, and motion creates energy. The third step is to brush your teeth. It sounds trivial, but the point is to do something simple and mindless, to give your body a few minutes to wake up. The fourth step is to drink a full glass of water. After 6 to 8 hours without water, you are mildly dehydrated, and dehydration feels like fatigue. Often when you feel tired during the day, what you actually need is water, not more sleep. The fifth step is to get dressed in your workout clothes, so you are ready to move the moment you leave the room. And here is the heart of the book. Once you are up, the author gives you 6 practices to fill that morning. He calls them the Lifesavers, spelled S.A.V.E.R.S. Each letter is one practice, and together they develop the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual sides of you. The first S is for silence. Most mornings begin in chaos, with the mind already racing about everything you have to do. A few minutes of purposeful silence through meditation, prayer, deep breathing, reflection, or gratitude lowers your stress and gives you clarity before the noise of the day begins. You start the day in control of your mind instead of letting the day control it for you. The A is for affirmations. The author points out that every one of us already talks to ourselves all day long, mostly on autopilot, mostly replaying old fears and old failures. Affirmations are about taking control of that inner dialogue on purpose. He gives a simple structure. First, write down clearly what you really want in each area of your life: your health, your money, your relationships, your mindset. Second, write down why you want it, because a compelling why is what carries you through hard days. Third, write down who you must become and what you must do to get there. The core idea is blunt. Your outer world improves only after you improve. Your life gets better only after you get better. The V is for visualization. This is mental rehearsal, the same tool elite athletes use. You sit quietly, you close your eyes, and you picture your goals in vivid detail using every sense. But the author adds a crucial second layer. Do not just picture the reward. Picture yourself doing the work. See yourself making the calls, studying, exercising, writing, and see yourself enjoying that process. Visualization is not daydreaming about the prize. It is rehearsing the actions that earn it. The E is for exercise. A few minutes of movement every morning boosts your energy, sharpens your focus, and lifts your mood. The genius of doing it first thing is that you exercise before the day wears you down, before you are too tired, and before you have had 10 hours to invent excuses. The author is honest that the excuses are endless. No time. Too tired. The more creative you are, the more excuses you can generate. Morning exercise simply removes the window in which those excuses live. The R is for reading. The author calls this the fast track to transforming any area of your life. The principle is simple. Do not reinvent the wheel. Whatever you want to achieve, someone has already done it and written about it. Learn from the people who have already arrived. He suggests a minimum of 10 pages a day. That feels small, almost too small to matter. But do the math. 10 pages a day is roughly 3,650 pages a year. That is around 18 substantial books in 12 months. Imagine the version of you that has absorbed 18 good books a year, every year. That person is unrecognizably more capable than the one who reads nothing. The final S is for scribing, which is just a refined word for writing. The author's preferred form is journaling for 5 to 10 minutes a day. When you pull your thoughts out of your head and put them on paper, you see things you would otherwise miss. You document your insights, your wins, your lessons, and the areas where you want to grow. A structured journal directs your attention toward what you accomplished, what you are grateful for, and what you are committed to doing better tomorrow. It turns a blurry day into a clear one. Now let me address the objections, because there are some honest myths worth confronting here. The first myth is that you simply are not a morning person, that some people are just wired to sleep late, and that is that. The author would push back on this. The low motivation you feel at the alarm is universal. It is not a personality type. It is biology, and it fades within minutes once you take the simple physical steps to wake your body. The story that you are not a morning person is often just rearview mirror syndrome wearing a disguise. You are letting your past define what is possible. The second myth is that you do not have time for any of this. People hear a morning routine and imagine they need a free hour they do not have. The author dismantles this directly with the 6-minute version of the routine. 1 minute of silence, 1 minute of affirmations, 1 minute of visualization, 1 minute of writing, 1 minute of reading, 1 minute of movement, 6 minutes. Almost nobody can honestly claim they cannot find 6 minutes. The time excuse usually hides a commitment problem. The third myth is that big transformation requires big, dramatic action. We tend to believe that changing your life takes some heroic overhaul. But the entire argument of this book runs the other way. Transformation comes from small, consistent, almost boring practices repeated daily. 10 pages, 6 minutes, 1 glass of water. The results are large precisely because the inputs are small enough to sustain. So how do you actually apply all of this? Let us walk through the before and after across the parts of life that matter. Take your work first. Before, you wake up late, you rush, you arrive scattered, and you spend the first hour reacting to other people's demands. After, you have already had silence to clear your head, you have visualized the day going well, and you have read something that sharpens your thinking. You walk in calm and deliberate. The difference is not talent. It is the state you arrive in. Take your money. Before, your financial decisions are made in a fog, driven by impulse and short-term comfort. After, your daily reading slowly builds real knowledge about money. Your affirmations keep your goals in front of you, and your journaling forces you to face your actual choices. You start making decisions from a position of clarity instead of anxiety. Take your habits. Before, you rely on motivation, which comes and goes, and you treat each slip as an isolated event. After, you have a fixed morning structure that runs whether you feel like it or not. The structure carries you on the days willpower fails. That is the whole point of a system. It works when you do not feel like working. Take your relationships. Before, you bring the stress and reactivity of a chaotic morning into your interactions with the people closest to you. After, you start grounded, with gratitude already on your mind, and you show up more present and more patient. The calm you build at sunrise spills into how you treat everyone you meet. Let me leave you with 3 takeaways to carry out of this. First, you are not making one choice. You are building an identity. Every skipped workout, every snooze, every page unread is a small vote for who you are becoming. Stop isolating the incident and start seeing the pattern. Second, win the first hour and you tilt the whole day in your favor. The morning is the one block of time you can actually control before the world starts making demands. Owning it is owning your day. Third, your outer life will not change until your inner person does. Success is attracted by who you become, not chased by what you do. Invest in the person first, and the results follow. If you want the PDF notes used to break down this book, comment PDF below. When I see your comment, I will share the link so you can go through every key idea yourself. Also tell me in the comments which book you want decoded next. Your comment might decide the next video. This is Blood, Sweat, Gold, where luxury is earned, not inherited.